All right, I've often said on this show, I don't know what Mandarin is for chutzpah, but the Chinese have certainly illustrated that in-your-face response to the downing of their spy balloon in the United States. They call it a violent and unnecessary act, incomprehensibly hysterical. That's coming from China's Wang Yi. He is their top diplomat, the equivalent of our Secretary of State. And wouldn't you know, our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, both of these guys are in the same place at the same time, yards apart, I'm told, at this Munich conference. Will they meet? Should they meet? Let's go to Mike Pompeo, our former Secretary of State, kind enough to join us. Secretary, do you think the two of them should meet?
Neil, good morning. Thanks for having me on. I spent a lot of time with Wang Yi and his colleague Yang Jiechi, the state counselor. I'm happy if they meet, but it's not about the meeting. It's about what it is we deliver. We should never mistake words, gatherings, good feelings, cocktail parties for actual deeds that respond to the threats that the Chinese Communist Party is posing. And this balloon, Neil, is just, it's really a symptom of the Biden administration's policies with respect to China. They have not confronted in a way that is serious and that would cause Xi Jinping. Wang Yi is just he's just an actor, an agent of Xi Jinping. We haven't confronted the system in a way that will convince him that to fly a slow-moving balloon over the United States for 5 days is just simply not something we're going to permit to happen. And so, you know, a meeting, I suppose, is fine. But if it's just to shake hands and say, gosh, aren't things getting better, and we're going to find ways to cooperate, this is the language of the Biden administration, that would be an enormous mistake.
They were the ones who had this spy balloon, and it was going over the U.S. Now, they might call our response incomprehensible, again, to quote Mr. Yi, almost hysterical. He went on to say this is 100% abuse of military force. But they did that, and yet we're the ones apparently trying very hard to open the channels of communication, but they hang up essentially on the defense secretary and they nix any other overtures we've made since.
Yeah, I wouldn't be looking for a meeting. I wouldn't have the meeting if it were me. The Trump administration, we certainly wouldn't have done that. But if they do, if they bump into each other in the Munich Security Conference, and it should be, our response should be determined and real, not just a bunch of words, Neil. The most important thing is not the things we say, but the responses that we take, directly confronting what it is the Chinese Communist Party is doing. We can't forget that, you know, they say, well, gosh, we stopped it from jamming us, but for 5 days, the whole world watched America's sovereignty being violated. And then subsequent to that, it appears that we shot down a bunch of things that were probably a bit of an overreaction to look tough. It's not about looking tough, Neil. It's about being tough and actually using deeds, not words, to convince Xi Jinping that he needs to back off on his enormous efforts to undermine the United States of America.